And good morning. It is Free Advice Friday. It's a little after 10 on Friday, April 17th. Thank you all for joining me. We've got a lot of you on the line today, and I can't wait to answer your questions. Your questions today, we're going to take them first come, first serve. The first question I have is by Frank Daly. Frank emailed me a very interesting series of questions this week that I wanted to dig into. And we do have Frank on the line today. Frank, I'm sorry that the microphone does not seem to be working, but feel free to drop your questions or your comments into the chat box as I go through these. The rest of you, you know how it works. I keep an eye on you on Zoom. I keep an eye on you on Facebook Live. I do the best I can to answer questions, but the way I do is it's first come, first serve. Put your questions in. I'll answer one question per person, and when we get to the end, I'll start in with the next question. It goes pretty fast these hours. I'm really enjoying them. All right, good morning, everyone. Let me start with Frank's question. All right. His question is, all right. So he started his author list 18 months ago. He had 0 subscribers. Now he has almost 3,000. It's fantastic. He's got a nonfiction, several books on self-knowledge on Amazon. And he's got some books on fiction. But his first question is, he's not sure about the commonly accepted advice to publish one book at a time. Do a book with a big or a soft launch and then later publish the next book. Conventional wisdom is to get reviews and traction on the first book before doing a second. It can be expensive to launch big, but now soft launches or slow launches, at least at the moment, seem to be in favor. And Frank, I checked you out. I know a little bit about you and your situation in anticipation of this call. And I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the shifts that are happening in this day and age in terms of book launches. Tried and true advice is tried and true for a reason. It has worked for a very long time, but that doesn't mean that there aren't disruptors or outliers to any phenomenon. And in the sense, and for you, Frank, for your nonfiction, because you've got some prescriptive how-to books, you've got some very solid self-actualization advice for people. I wanted to tell you that if you wanted to do it differently, you have my blessing. You have everyone's blessing. It depends on your goals. There is an author I work with. His name is James Goi, Goi. He's written a number of books about actualization and visualization and wealth and the law of attraction. It's a whole series. He puts out several books at once because he had so much content. And for a book like yours, Frank, putting an entire series out or an entire set of books out as one and marketing them is extremely valuable if you're going to keep most of your attention to publisher to reader sales, meaning you're going to go through ebooks, you're going to go through Amazon, you're going to go through IndieBound or bookmarket.org, but bookshop.org. Putting out one book at a time every 12 to 18 months is definitely the way to go. If this was years ago, if you were with a major house, they can't, they're not going to be able to support you and 5 books at once. But you're right, Frank, you can take your prescriptive, they're not real, they're sort of self-help, but your prescriptive how-to books, and you can release them in chunks. Put 2-3 books out at a time. If you're going to be raising your profile as an expert and as a guide and as someone who can be of service in this area, then why not put out all the books you can at once? But I said it's about your goals. If bookstores, self-help stores, if libraries, if they're a huge part of your distribution plan, then they're not going to take 5 or 6 books, even 3 books at once. They're going to test one at a time. But you can market and sell 3 or 4 books at the same time for almost the same amount of money. You can market one book. And I think it's a great idea. Again, there are reasons why some authors and some publishers put out one book at a time. Stephen King puts out one book at a time, but he writes, these huge books and there's a whole machine behind them. You don't have that machine. If you've got the books, put them out, but put them out smartly. Put them out with proper titles, put them out, with the right pub dates. Don't take a 2011 book that hasn't been updated and just shove it out there with a new cover or a new ISBN. If you're going to hit the world hard, make sure that you polished it up and everything looks great. Now, as for fiction books, fiction is not as much in Frank's world. It's not, he doesn't have huge novels. He's got short stories, novellas. He's got one novel coming out in the future, which is going to be a little bit more of a traditional look. For you fiction authors, the same advice can be true. If you're going to focus on pitching directly to the readers, if you're going to skip the bookstores and libraries, which in many, many cases is a good idea. A lot of you won't get into bookstores and libraries. A lot of you shouldn't be in bookstores and libraries. Frank, novellas, short stories. If you want to pitch your short stories to some of the many anthologies out there, in a lot of cases, they can't be previously published. So it depends on your goals. If you've got some novellas, some short stories, if you've got some fiction that you're wanting to be included in anthologies, that you're going to want to be in zines, then do not publish them all at once. But if that's not what you're going to do, if you're not going to look for a publisher, if you're not going to take that route, then put them out there. Because as you raise people's awareness of who you are as an author, they might as well be able to pick and choose from all the different offerings that you have. So the question is, he's got 3 books right now, and he's going to publish at least 5 more in the nonfiction series. And he's curious about when publishing too fast becomes counterproductive. So let me take these questions in order. And again, Frank, I'm so sorry that we couldn't get you on the call, but we will absolutely see if we can do this next week. Publishing too fast becomes counterproductive when you rush to publication, when you skip the copy edit, when you skip in, I don't know, maybe your book should be indexed because you say you've got 5 more coming out. Maybe some of them should be indexed. Maybe some of them shouldn't be. Go through the solid publishing steps. Get the reviews. It doesn't make any sense to put a brand new book out tomorrow if you don't have any endorsements, any testimonials, if you haven't gone through the review process. Make sure that everything, after it's laid out and designed, make sure you have another very well-paid, experienced proofreader go through everything, because they're going to catch things that nobody else caught. That's their job. They're designed that way. So rushing to publication, or what we're calling printing a book as opposed to publishing a book, is where things become counterproductive. But if you've got the machine in place to do it properly, to do it right, there is no right timeline. If you are publishing directly to the reader, if you are going through Amazon, if you're going through Kobo, if you're going through, and libraries and bookstores aren't as important. It's mainly going to be online sales, ebook sales, audio sales, directly to the reader, and your marketing and your advertising is going directly to the reader. The only thing that's holding you back is your ability to publish properly, either with budget or with time or expertise. So you're asking if there's an ideal time lapse between books. It depends on your marketing aspect. If all 5 of the books in your series are all geared towards the same market, there is no ideal time lapse. If they're all a different market, if one's for parents and the other one is for people without children and the other one is for people who hate children, I'm kidding, but 6 months, I wouldn't publish any closer together than 6 months, because it takes 6 months to really properly launch a book. And then you bring the second book or the third book or the fourth book in. You have to keep paying attention to that first book. All you're doing is adding. It's like when you have a second kid, you don't stop feeding the first kid. All you're doing is adding a second kid and then a third kid. And just like having children, after a while, that first kid actually kind of takes care of the third kid a little bit, because your success and your fame with the first book will carry over and people will start getting excited about your fourth book and your fifth book. But if they're different markets, you don't have that lift. So I give yourself at least 6 months to properly raise the first book. All right. That is Frank. I'm checking in on the questions now. Frank, I'm thrilled to have you here. I'm sorry I couldn't ask you. Let's start with Ellie S's question. Ellie has been asked to write a true crime book for a friend through his eyes. Apparently, I'm guessing, Ellie, that this friend has a great deal of expertise in a particular area of whatever this particular crime is, either is connected to it or somehow pushed through. How can they find an agent or a publisher for something like this? Well, Ellie, the way anyone else would find an agent, Twitter is still a very good place. Following agents on Twitter, especially the agents of, find out who the big true crime authors are in your area. Maybe you want to, maybe you want to narrow it down, you want to go broad, but find out who the agents are that agent some of the big true crime authors. Now, don't approach them, because here's the thing. Those agents already have their big names. They don't need another true crime author. But the agency may actually specialize in true crime. And so maybe one of their coworkers, maybe there's a new agent that's just filling up into their agency. So find out who is representing the big authors in your area. Follow them on Twitter. Go to their website and see if they have a blog. Subscribe to their newsletter. Keep an eye on their announcements for that particular agency. Maybe they're going to bring on a new agent. Maybe it'll be a young, untested agent who's looking for submissions. The way that you do that, though, is you on social media, you find them, you connect with them, you keep an eye on them, you do your research. Another great way to get started in the finding the agent is to go right to agentquery.com. Let me jot that in the chat box. Agentquery.com has fantastic advice on how to find an agent. It's got advice on query letters, and it has an enormous database of agents that are both looking or who are not looking, either open or closed to submissions. Agentquery.com is definitely the second bit of advice that I have for you. I hope that helps. There's lots of other places to go to find advice about how to get an agent. Career Author, Paula Munir and the whole crew over at careerauthor.com is also a great place to start. Let me drop that into the chat box as well. Linda, he's not muted. I appreciate it, but that's, let's see. Lene is saying, she said she as well emailed a question yesterday, and Lene, I did get the questions from yesterday. Linnea was asking about Scrindle, SQRINDLE.com. And she was asking if I had any advice about buying a membership on Scrindle. I had never heard of them. So I took some time and I went and I dug in. I did the same thing I would recommend that you guys do. I went to Google and I Googled them. I read through, I didn't just skip. I read all the way through their terms and conditions. I read through their privacy disclaimers and how they use our data. I immediately realized that they were going to be using every small bit, including dropping huge cookies into my work with them, to sell to Facebook for advertising, to sell to Google. It is, as far as I can see, a privacy nightmare, that particular site. Now, that doesn't bother most people. I spend a couple hours a day on Facebook, which is also a privacy nightmare. So it depends on where your level of comfort is. I would sign up for Scrindle, SQRINDLE, for those of you who are curious, if they had a service that I was interested in, because they seem at the moment to be very legitimate. I tracked down where their owners are. They've got legitimate owners. I Googled their name and then complaints and reviews and Better Business Bureau. They have zero problems out there. I went to Victoria Strauss's page and I checked out Editors and Predators. I went to the ALLI, ALLI, Alliance of Independent Authors site with Orna Ross, and I checked out to see if they were listed as a particularly dangerous site. If Victoria and Orna, if they haven't popped up on their radar, it's perfectly safe. So Lene, at this point, it's up to you to decide how comfortable you are with the huge amount of data they're going to be harvesting from you, and they're going to be using it and selling it. If you want new things showing up on your Facebook feed, suggested ads, and then if that doesn't bother you, it doesn't bother me. I mean, you know the rule, guys. If you're not paying for something, then you're the product. You're being the one being sold. It depends on your comfort level. But I would recommend before you sign up, go down to the bottom, do what I did, read the terms, read the privacy notices, and make sure you're okay with it. Tara, I forgot to email you. You asked this question. I am so sorry. Tara says that I mentioned a few weeks ago that Amazon Advantage is going away. Do I know when it might happen? No, I do not know specifically, but I can tell you what I think is going to happen. And I will remind you guys that when CreateSpace was being closed down and KDP was going to be taking over, I nailed it. There are signs that when Ingram Spark was starting to raise its head, what was going to happen to Lightning Source. There are signs about CreateSpace. There are now signs about Amazon Advantage. So let me give you my opinion. This is my opinion. I believe that sometime in October, November time, September, October, November at the latest, but fall in the autumn, that Amazon will slowly start phasing out the smaller people who don't do a great deal of business with Amazon Advantage. They will close down those accounts. I believe that the larger companies are going to keep getting to use Amazon Advantage for a while. And by larger, I mean people who do several $1,000s a month with them. But Amazon is showing every indication. Again, guys, this is, I wish there was a big blinking sign over my face that said opinion, opinion. Amazon is showing every sign that they are backing away from getting into the fulfillment and distribution business for books on behalf of publishers. I know it's how they got started. I know it was literally what launched them, but they're not all that interested in us anymore. And they have closed down Amazon Advantage to new signups. Will they replace the program with something else? They might. But I am as sure can be. I would lay solid odds that they are going to move everyone to KDP. They're not particularly interested in using any of their warehouse space for books when they can push people to KDP hard. And for those of you who've got children's books or cookbooks or 4-color books and print on demand is not a good idea, maybe keep in mind, maybe they're Seller Central. They love Seller Central because everything shows up on their site, but they don't have to do the fulfillment. Amazon Advantage is going away eventually, guys. It absolutely is. Tara's asking about the timing. I'm guessing that smaller people will be phased out starting in the fall. That is my guess. I will tell you as soon as I hear something for real. But I would not wait. I would sign up for a Seller Central account right now and start selling as many of your products as you can through Seller Central. All right. Carolyn's saying, does that mean we won't have a platform? Carolyn, I'd love to discuss that with you more. I don't know what you mean platform. Amazon Advantage is only one way to sell your books on Amazon. You can sell your books through KDP. You can sell your books through Seller Central. What Amazon Advantage is it's a program where Amazon buys the books from the publisher or the person who owns the distribution rights and then pays them once the books sell. They'll warehouse 2-3 copies or 200 copies, depending on how brisk the sales are. But Amazon is moving away from that model. They'd like to just do print on demand. They'd like to do ebooks. They really want to start driving ebooks because that's where most of their profit is. And for those who aren't interested, or again, cookbooks, children's authors, print on demand isn't a great fit. There's always Seller Central, where you warehouse the book. Your book still shows up on Amazon. It still will have search inside. It still will have all of the elements, but Amazon won't be the one actually shipping the book out. You will be. All right. Let's see. Tara, I'm sorry. I forgot to email you about that. Linnea is saying, I can't tell you how much I appreciate hearing you say skip the bookstores. Yes, in a lot of cases, guys, bookstores are a fantastic place for you. In a lot of cases, they're not. It is different It is absolutely different. Um, David's saying, how do I more fame and fortune? David, I am so sorry. I don't know what that means. But if you want to retype the question, I would be happy to answer it, but I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Caroline is asking, no, Caroline, I can't see anyone's faces because this is not a meeting. This is a webinar, a Zoom webinar. I have a different sort of Zoom than most of you guys are used to. I know we're all getting very Zoom friendly in this pandemic isolation period, but what we've got here is not a Zoom meeting, it's a Zoom webinar. And I want to remind everyone that those of you who are watching this on a replay or watching this on Facebook, if you'd like to join in and get your questions answered, then all you need to do is go to newshelves.com/FAF. Newshelves.com/FAF will take you to my sign-up sheet where you can sign up and join us here live every Friday at 10 a.m. All right. Let me quickly glance at Facebook and see what's going on there and see if there's any comments or questions. Oh, good morning, Carla. How are you? It's good to see you. Carla, I don't believe Carla has a book in the works yet, so I don't see any questions there. I'm going to move on into Sue O's question. Let me read this, but I have to put on my old lady glasses. Sue is planning on doing a relaunch, a mini relaunch of her hybrid published nonfiction 300-page print book. All right, it's a nonfiction 300-page print book. It's a tribute to her co-author who passed, and it's going to be sold exclusively through her website. She'll offer an autographed copy of the print book at 50% off the $50 retail. Oh, I know that. Okay, let's see. Okay. So question number 1, she wants to publish a PDF version so that it's not available through Kindle. It's a nice clickable, she has a nice clickable table of contents, but it's still 300 pages at a 12-font font. That's really long, so should I do it? Well, yes, absolutely. People, and the nice thing is you can actually also create your book as a Mobi and as an EPUB. I use Sundar at Medlar Publishing. I use Sumi Goswami. Sumi and her husband Amit do great work for ebooks. But you can actually get your PDF, your Mobi, and your EPUB created very inexpensively, or do it yourself using there's a lot of great online tools. And you can sell an ebook that way with a locked format that when someone buys your ebook on your website, you can send them a link so that they can download the book onto their device. I use BookFunnel. There's other companies that will allow you to do that, but yes, you should absolutely publish a PDF version on your site. Another option is to break up the 300 pages into a 10-topic, into little white papers, maybe 10,000 words each, published separately. Well, yeah, that's also a great idea. You can do both. There's no reason why you shouldn't create and sell for $3.99 the separate chapter. What if somebody only wants one chapter? What if they only have one particular issue and they don't want to buy your whole book? They just, absolutely. Great idea, Sue. If she breaks the books up, she'd need to update them. Well, I think you may need to update. Oh, you mean maybe update the table of contents and get individual reviews published to Amazon, but she thinks they could all go out since they're different topics on the same main area. Yes, Sue, there's nothing stopping you from publishing these books as a PDF or a Kindle. You don't have to put your Kindle file up on Amazon if you don't want to. You can put it's called a Mobi. You can put your Mobi file up on your website and allow people to download that. And there are ways to do it safely so they can't share it willy-nilly. I think this is a great idea. Creating, taking existing content, making sure that you don't just chop the chapters up. You have to edit each one, make sure it's got a nice start, middle, and end. Make sure there's a nice flow. I mean, it's a little bit more than just chopping them up and throwing them out there. But I think it's a great idea. Get a cover design that you can use, use canva.com and design a front cover that you can change the title yourself. Get a nice solid cover with a thematic difference that you can maybe change the color a little bit or change the look so that each of the books has a thematic but somehow congruent look. And I'd say you're off to the races. That's a great idea. All right. Lenee's asking why I said that KDP isn't good for children's books. Could I say why? Sure. Linnea, you just said to me a few minutes ago that you are still very interested in libraries. Most libraries, the vast majority of libraries, for children's picture books, they want hardcover. Children's picture books are 4-color. They usually have thicker paper. KDP is only paperback at this point. KDP does not have the option to give you a nice paper overboard printed hardcover with a nice thick spine. Their paper is not as good. Now you can go to Ingram Spark or Lightning Source and get a nice print-on-demand hardcover and get your book available to the marketplace through Ingram Spark. But if you're asking why KDP isn't great for children's books, it's because in many cases, I'm sorry guys, 1 second. Ooh, sorry. In many cases, parents, grandparents, they'd like a hardcover for a children's book. I know the bookstores do. Linnea, I know you're not interested in bookstores, but libraries are as well. So make sure that your children's book files are also up on Ingram Spark or Lightning Source, same company. Ingram Spark is just the front end for self-published authors of the Lightning Source engine. All right. Annette is asking if I've ever worked with a ghostwriter. Yes, I've hired ghostwriters. I have, for years, I published books for Barnes & Noble and Borders. My job actually for a long time is Borders and Barnes & Noble, we would decide on a particular topic and I would go away and I would publish the book for them. And then we'd put Barnes & Noble or Borders logo on it and the book would be theirs. I worked with ghostwriters a lot during that part of my career. I work with ghostwriters now for some of my authors. I have a lot of authors who have great expertise, but they're not great writers. You know what? I fall into that category. I'm not a great writer. I'm a good talker. I've got a sense of humor. I've got a lot of expertise, but I'm not a great writer. I've got a real passive voice. I'm kind of lazy. I'm a lazy writer. I write the way I talk. And I'm afraid that when my authors say to me, well, I want to write the way I talk, that never works. I'm not going to say rarely. People don't read the way they listen. And if I write blogs, I write articles, but I turn them over to a lot of copy editors and people who fix them up for me because nobody wants to read the way I talk. Very few people who want to hear me when I talk, but they certainly don't want to read the way I talk. So may I recommend all of you that maybe you need a ghostwriter or at least a co-author or a heavy development edit so that your books are the best they can be. My experience with ghostwriters have been mixed, but my experience with dentists have been mixed. My experience with hairdressers have been mixed. That's life. But once you find a ghostwriter or a bunch of ghostwriters and editors that you like, my lipstick is smearing. Once you get a team together that you like, you can stick with them for a very long time. Some of the ghostwriters that I've used in the past have now moved on and they don't do it anymore. A lot of them have become book shepherds or they've become publishers themselves. But starting with, if you need a really good ghostwriter, I always go to Annalisa Parent at datewiththemuse.com. Annalisa at datewiththemuse.com. She has a whole slew of ghostwriters that I use and I love, and I have never had a problem with any of her people. So I would recommend her. Let me drop her if you're interested in that. Let me drop her link into the chat. Now I've had bad experiences where they didn't give me the book on time. They didn't do a good enough job. But there's ways to get around it. You ask for a sample chapter. You give them, 30 minutes to interview you and you ask them to, and you pay them for their time and you ask them to write a chapter. And if it's exactly what you want, great. It rarely is. But in many cases, it'll be really close. And then you give them notes and they try again, and then you're off to the races. So test them out. You don't need to hire them all up front. David Gates is saying that Kelly Creative does awesome Adobe layout to PDF book work on Upwork. David, that's fantastic. Let me drop that name in. Thank you, David. Kelly Creative at Upwork. Now, I do not know Kelly, but I trust David's instincts. If he's got, there's also, as I said, there's Sundar at Medlar Labs, there's Sumi, but Kelly Creative is another resource. And David, thank you for sharing that. That's very kind. All right, now that I've finished drooling on myself, let me go back to Facebook and see if there's any other. No, we're still plowing through the questions on Zoom. All right, Molly asks, she's ready to have her book formatted. It's a children's book with 90 pages with some pictures. Molly, we need to talk. Molly, I'm going to ask, how would you feel? I never do this. Hey, Molly, thank you for joining me. Molly, quick question. What age group is this children's book geared towards?
It's for about age 7 and 8.
Okay, good. So it's the early readers.
It's
So
early
like Magic
reader.
Treehouse, Magic Treehouse age group, Junie B. Jones, that sort of age group.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. There's a terrific formatter, her name, who does books like this. Her name is Gwen Kennedy. And she is at JKS Creative. I am dropping her website into the chat. Gwen Kennedy, she got married recently. She may have a new last name, but trust me, she'll answer to anything. She is extremely experienced in that genre. She has actually designed some New York Times and USA Today best-selling books in that area. Now, if budget is a constraint and you want to go overseas and work with someone who uses a little bit, who's less boutique-y and a little less scripted, but they use templates, but they're far less expensive. I am again going to drop Sundar at MedLabs. I'm going to drop his email into the chat box. He's far less expensive, but he's less, Gwen will walk you through it. Is that kind of what you were looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I took a look at InDesign. If I'm going to be publishing similar books, and this is the start of a series, the Picklefry Twins and this mystery and that mystery and that mystery. And so I thought, well, if I learned InDesign, I could do that. But when I look at the InDesign, it's going to take me a week to learn InDesign.
It will take you a couple months to learn InDesign, not a week. And you need to take a class. If you're going to do this, then you should. You need to take a class on book design. There are rules that you will never be able to figure out by reading a blog. There are people who teach classes online, or you can watch their videos, but it's going to take more than a week. It will take several weeks to learn how to do this. But once you've got that skill, then you never need to pay someone $800 or $2,000 to lay your book out.
Well, that would be good.
Invest the time. If you've got a personal love for design, and if you're willing to do this, I mean, this is a business you're launching, and it will take you more than a week to learn how to do this. It will take you many, many weeks. And the first one, you're going to want to you're not going to want to. You will throw your computer against the wall at some point. It will happen. But think about what an amazing skill set you'll have then.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate it. And welcome to Free. You are the very first Free Advice Friday person I've ever unmuted. So thank you. We'll talk to you later. All right, next question. Dun, dun, dun. Anita is asking what I think of Medium as a way to promote your books. Anita, I love Medium. As a way to promote yourself, though. Promoting yourself as an expert or as someone who knows a lot about a topic. Medium, Yahoo contributors. I know that they were closed for a while to new contributors, but they've opened it back up. Medium, Yahoo contributors, LinkedIn articles. These are all great ways to get the word out about what it is you know. But I love Medium in particular. every once in a while, something will catch fire on Medium and start getting shared around the globe. I think it's a fantastic use. And I would even go, get the pro version. Don't even, just go all the way. Anita, I'd be curious if you could remind me what the book is that, what your topic is, because if you've written a novel, I have different advice. I want to remind you guys, throw the questions in the Q&A box. I'm now looking and seeing some in the chat, which I didn't know were there. So I didn't mean to ignore you guys. Let me try this again. Victoria's getting a new cover, re-releasing Lady Margaret's Disgrace. Love that book, Victoria, by the way. You guys, Lady Margaret's Disgrace, I loved that read. It's getting reviews, but how long will it take? She wants to have book 3 of the trilogy ready before Christmas. Victoria, I'm a little fuzzy on the question. You're getting a new cover and re-releasing Lady Margaret's Disgrace. I don't know how long it will take to get the new cover done. My designer can get a cover done in under a week. I use Mila. I think we talked about that. I'm not sure. But getting reviews, right now I use K-Book Promotions. I use Dog Ear. I love Dog Ear book promotions. Both of those services to get a number of reviews and to get things launched, you're looking at least July at this point. I mean, they're booked up. Hidden Gems is booked up a year. So, Hidden Gems is off the table, but Dog Ear and K-Book Promotion, they're both great services, review services, but they're booking into about July. So if you're hoping to have book 3 of the trilogy ready before Christmas, then, and I'm giving this advice to all of you, especially you novelists out there, if you want your book available for Christmas, and if you really are going to be launching it properly, you need to get it out by October. By November, everything's off the table. Everyone's too distracted with the holidays. You're not going to be able to get the bookstore's attention. They won't even answer your emails. They're too busy trying to keep the Nora Roberts novels on the shelf, and yours will get lost. So either put your book out in September, October, mid-October. By October 15th, if it's not out, wait until January. I mean, I understand that, you want your friends to be able to buy it for Christmas, and maybe you can do a soft launch, but you'll get lost. You'll get lost unless you've got a huge machine behind you and you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to lift you above the noise. Trying to release your book in November, I just don't ever really see it working for smaller houses. They don't have the noisemakers to be heard above the crowd. All right, let's see. Sue is suggesting to those of us who are interested, Sue is suggesting that Affinity Publishing is a new and it's easier than Adobe platform. Many authors and book designers are using Affinity Publishing. Now, I do not know anything about Affinity Publishing, but Molly, you might want to check it out, and I will check it out this week. Again, I hire designers. I'm a marketing girl. But Sue, thank you for that. And I will check into it. And I'll get back to you guys next week. Oh, Anita, yes. That's right. The Mustard Seed, the series. Yes. Medium is definitely a good idea for you. Absolutely. Oh, Tara, thank you. Once again, Tara, coming to the rescue, kbookpromotions.com. I appreciate it. All right, let's get back to the questions. Sue has a follow-up to her plan, and because she was just so helpful with the Affinity Publishing, I'm going to ask it. She's written a 1,500-word tribute to the co-author who'd passed away to be published on the website. She'd like to put it in the PDF, the Mobi, the EPUB, as a dedication. Should it be at the beginning or place it with the author bio at the end? If it's the end, no. You should absolutely make it the beginning. And if it's a tribute, then call it that. It's not a dedication is, to my mother who should have raised me better. Dedication is something else. What you're writing is a real, either a foreword or an introduction. But, if it were me, I'd call it a tribute, literally, instead of foreword or introduction. You can, but it's not really, I'd put it at the beginning. if you truly want to honor and get your coworker, I'm reading a copy of Get the Love You Want by Harville Hendrix right now. And he and his wife have come out with a new third edition of the book. And right at the beginning, they have this whole explanation about why Harville Hendrix' name was the only name on the book for the first few editions. But now her name is on as well. They explain why, they explain the thinking, why her name is on it now. They could have put that at the end, but I have to tell you, having that personal connection to the author and explaining why they do things and how they feel about things at the beginning set the tone that as I'm going through the book, I'm totally resonating with. So Sue, I feel very strongly about this. I would put it at the beginning. And again, I haven't read it yet. If you want to send it to me, I reserve the right to change my mind. But unless you, unless you call them a horrible person, I think put them at the beginning. Pat is asking what the link is for Medium. Guys, sometimes, and I love you guys, go to Google. just medium.com, I think is the link. I'm not sure. But Medium is, if you Google Medium and Medium articles, I promise it'll take you right there. Because I was about to go to Google for you. I'm like, you guys can go to Google. But I believe it's medium.com. I'm not 100% sure. Cheryl is asking the biggest advantage to joining Ally for the first time as a nonfiction author. What other communities should I consider? Cheryl, I want you to run, don't walk, to Stephanie's. It's called the Nonfiction Authors Association. It's run by Stephanie Chamberlain. Stephanie Chamberlain. Damn it. Excuse my language. But it's the Nonfiction Authors Association. You will get so much value from that particular organization. She's got media sheets she sends out every week. She's got a list of bloggers. I get so much value from my membership to the Nonfiction Authors Association. Stephanie, what is her last name? That is killing me. Chandler. Thank you, Tara. Mwah! I love you, Stephanie Chandler. Tara has dropped the URL into the chat box because we love Tara, and she is getting an edible arrangement at some point soon. But Cheryl, Ally is also, I would join both. Ally is an organization that teaches. Oh my gosh. The webinars, the blogs, the resources that Ally offers, they've got a watchdog list that can't be beat. If you're unsure about a particular company, you can go to Ally, you can check it out. You can ask them. They've got a team of people. If you are trying to get to the next level in your business, then you need tools. Now, Cheryl, I don't know your business well enough. Maybe I don't know you well enough. Maybe you're already past Nonfiction Authors Association. Maybe you're already past needing ALLI. But here's the thing. I've been in publishing for many, many years, and I'm not past. I still learn something from them every week. So you may be above what they can offer because I don't know your business. I can't say for sure that they would be of help, but I would tell you that their education, their advocacy, and the tools that they drop into my inbox, both of these organizations are so worth the membership. So worth the membership. All right. Sonia is saying, to get traction on Medium, do you need to have a large following? I don't know. Sonia, I'm sorry. I don't know. I will ask around, but all I know is that every once in a while, I will have a friend who shares an article that just touches me, and I'll notice that it was originally posted on Medium. I don't know enough about it to know how to launch it. Victoria, I don't believe I saw, I will have to talk. Let's talk offline after this call. Because you're saying that you dropped the cover possibilities into my inbox. And I will look for those. I'm so sorry. Okay. I remember seeing your covers. I remember loving them. I'm sorry if I didn't get back to you. I'm reading this through. Let's talk right after. I'll call you right after this. Katrina is saying, when I say K-Book Promotions, Hidden Gems, and Dog Year Promotions, are they book launch marketing pros? No, and they're not like NetGalley. Katrina, all three of those companies are companies that will make your book available to reviewers, just like NetGalley, but unlike NetGalley, they go out and actively solicit the reviewers. NetGalley is a little more passive. NetGalley can get you some reviews, but when you pay K-Book Promotions, they'll actually say, we can get you 15 Amazon or Reader reviews. Dog Year Promotions will get you 10 reviews. It's guaranteed. They go out, they get the reviews. It's completely legitimate. It's allowed. They do not violate Amazon, at the moment, Amazon's terms of service. What it is you're paying for a company that will go out and find and get you the reviewers. With Netgear, you're paying for a company to allow you to post your review copy on their site. And in many cases, you're paying to be involved in their marketing aspects. But with Hidden Gems, Dog Year, and K-Book Promotions, what you're doing is you're paying for the company to go out and get you reviews. They're not going to give you false reviews. They're not going to do anything sleazy. These companies have integrity. I've used them all. I like them. At the moment, they don't violate anyone's terms of service. That could change. Oh, Cheryl, sweetie. Cheryl's like, I'm not past it. Well, good. Neither am I. Sign up for them both. It's totally, I think it's like $100 each. It's just totally worth it. Linda, I want to hear more about this. Linda said that her husband, who is an author, just posted on Medium and had quite the reaction to it. Linda, do you mind unmuting yourself and telling us a little bit about what happened?
Okay, here I am. Can you hear me?
Morning.
Morning. No, he didn't post it on Medium. He read an article on Medium about how we are all going to be brainwashed into thinking that this coronavirus thing never happened.
I posted that article as well. I reposted it.
Did you?
Yeah.
And he posted it up on my Facebook and on his own Facebook. And some woman who was a recent addition to his followers on Facebook just blasted him. She was so vile, he disowned her, or whatever you...
Guys, that happens when you put yourself out on social media, especially when you put out things you believe. I read that article about how I think it was called Prepare for the Great Gaslighting.
Yes.
And that article was written on Medium and it went wild across the globe. But not everyone's going to love us or agree with us. But, I'm so sorry that happened.
No, but I was impressed with Medium. I kind of checked around and I didn't know what Medium was, but it looks interesting.
And that is an example of a guy who went viral and all of a sudden everyone knows. I mean, I went and followed him on Twitter. I wanted to know who he was. Well, thanks, Linda. I appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Okay.
All right. Let's see the other questions. I no longer say so. I no longer say bum, 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 but apparently I have replaced it with let's see. So now I'm going to get rid of let's see in between each question. I wonder what I'll replace it with next. We should put a grid together and you guys can bet on what the little verbal tick is I'm going to come up with next to get to the next question. All right. Katrina is saying she's written several articles on Medium, and she will say that, like any other publication, it pays to join for the $5 a month and start reading other articles. It has its own tricks for style and format. I have known Katrina online for quite some time, and the things that she's tried and the things that she said has made a great deal of sense to me. So you know what I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to look into Medium pretty heavily this week, thanks to your questions. And when I come back next week, I'll have a lot more answers. And anyone who's used Medium, perhaps Katrina, you'd like to join me next week, and we can talk a little bit about what we discover. All right. David, thank you so much for the links. K-Book Promotions, I will find the link and drop it in. Anita's asking what I think of Independent Book Publishers Association. And is there a way I can access your past advice programs? Yes, to both questions. I do think something about IBPA. I love IBPA. Now, IBPA, Independent Book Publishers Association, just like ALLI, A-L-L-I, they're and I pronounce this word poorly, advocacy program. They're an advocacy. They help authors, but they also help publishers. And IBPA has an enormous amount of power in our industry for smaller presses. It helps self-published authors become true independent presses, and it helps true independent presses get to the next level. I don't love all of their programs. There's lots of things I wouldn't sign up for, but I'm a member of IBPA. I teach at their, I have taught online classes for them. I teach at their annual conference. I had Angela Bohl, their executive director, on Free Advice Friday just a month or so ago. It was in February, I believe, March. It was in March. I had Jane Friedman on in February. So for those of you who are asking, also you can see Angela from IBPA, you can see Jane Friedman, all on my YouTube channel. If you go to amysadvice.com, please subscribe when you get there. I need more subscribers. But go to amysadvice.com. amysadvice.com will take you right to my YouTube channel. And all you have to do is just look around. You'll see tons of my Free Advice Fridays, including my interview with Brian Cohen about book marketing copy, Angela talking about IBPA and self-publishing. Jane Friedman was a great interview. I've got Robin Cutler coming on next month from Ingram Spark. Love her. So yes, please go to amysadvice.com at any point and you can see any of these. I put them all up as replays. Let's see. I'm going to say, all right. Let's see. What will my next tick be? I'll have to think about it. I want to see if I've missed any questions. You know what? I'm going to, we have 5 minutes left. Linnea's got a few more questions. Let me see. She recently used Kindle Create to make a fixed format print replica ebook. Then had somebody make an EPUB version so that she could get it into Overdrive, Hoopla, etc. Because the EPUB didn't have the features for changing type size, looking up definitions of words, yeah, she didn't want any of those features. Overdrive wouldn't take it. Linnea, why don't you want those features? Those are, so I'm curious, why fixed format? I understand fixed format is one version, but having, you're right, because Overdrive won't take an EPUB. What's the harm? I understand if you want to keep it fixed format just for the Kindle, but I'd be curious if you could drop that in. That would be wonderful. April is suggesting that my next verbal tick is la la la, la la la. Okay, all right, we'll try that out. La la la. Linnea's saying about children's books, she's found that for the last 4 or 5 years, that CreateSpace KDP has always had better paper and color printing than Ingram Spark. Absolutely true. They do. The premium paper in Ingram Spark is not up to snuff for KDP. But Ingram Spark's best color printing is fine for watercolor illustration, but not good for color photos. Yes, but again, they don't offer hardcover, and that's going to be a problem. All right, Katrina, we will absolutely talk this week. I hope, Katrina, if you would be kind enough to email me at amy@newshelves. Amy at Newshelves, I'd love to talk to you about us discussing your experience on Medium next week on Free Advice Friday. Linnea, I know that the page design, okay, you're saying the page design of the EPUB is important for the feel of the book. I totally get that. But if the choices are to not have any EPUB in the Overdrive or ebook in the Overdrive system, or to have a book that doesn't have the ideal feel, are those your only options? Are there other options? Can you do a there's got to be other children's book authors out there. There is the Society of Children's Books Authors and Illustrators. Perhaps, you might want to consider going to Findaway Books for, Draft to Digital, and contacting them directly to see if there's any other options. Draft to Digital, this is a little out of my, again, I'm a marketing chick, a little out of my area of expertise, but I would say that it's better to have something that isn't exactly the way you want it than nothing. But I'm sure there's options. I'm afraid I don't know what they are. I'm sorry. Perhaps Joel Friedlander can help you? All right. Sue, okay. I will absolutely get a hold of you this week. It seems that a couple of emails from a couple of weeks ago did not get answered. Victoria, Sue, I'm hearing from people that I've not gotten back to people. Now, I'm not going to, beat the drum about this, but you guys do know my mom died about 3 weeks ago, and there's a really, really good chance that I screwed up, that I missed your emails. I'm not going to say the whole I didn't get your email thing. Maybe I did. I had a rough couple of weeks, and I am so sorry that I did not answer your emails, but I can promise you, both of you guys, all three of you who said that you've emailed me, I'm going to go seek you out right now. Victoria, Sue, we're going to get to the bottom of this. All right. That was another Free Advice Friday, and I have enjoyed, as always, spending this hour with you. I will see you next Friday. We're going to talk about Medium. Frank, I adore you, and I adore your questions. I hope that was helpful when how we started the hour, but we will get started next Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Please go to amysadvice.com and sign up for my, subscribe to my YouTube channel. We have all of these Free Advice Fridays that show up there. And if you would, please go to amysadvice.com, but also go to newshelves.com/FAF. So you can, if you're watching this on a replay, so you can sign up and join us live and get your questions answered.